Hello, welcome to the Charles River Conservancy Parkland Show. My name is Renata von Tscharner. I'm the founder and president of the Charles River Conservancy. And one of the wonderful things about the Charles River is that so many people are involved in making this a more beautiful place, to make the parklands more attractive, active, and accessible. And the reason for that sits right next to me. It's Sasha.
Hi, Renata.
Welcome, Sasha. Sasha Vallieres is the volunteer coordinator and also does the outreach, the e-newsletter for the Charles River Conservancy. And she is out there doing an amazing job, and she will tell you about that and about what the volunteers do. Sasha, tell us what the volunteers do and why they accomplish so much.
Yeah, excellent. So I run our Conservancy Volunteers Program. So we're bringing volunteers from the community out into the parklands to perform various maintenance and horticultural tasks. It's a great way for community members to get outside and become actively engaged in the parklands and have fun with their friends, their coworkers, and just really enjoy it.
Yeah, and all along the river from the Boston Harbor up to the Watertown Dam, so that's 10 miles up and 10 miles down roughly, and you will be showing the various projects.
Yeah.
And so these are some of the big numbers.
Yeah, so the program started in 2002, and since then we've managed to work with around 2,000 volunteers every single year. So that's around 24,000 volunteers since it started, and altogether they've contributed over $1 million in donated labor. So just making sure the parklands are looking beautiful and well kept, and they're safe and accessible for everyone.
Yeah. Now we want to kind of get a sense of what kind of project and what kind of groups are involved.
Absolutely. So a lot of our volunteers come from businesses and corporations. You can see here, this is one of our wonderful partners, Berkshire Partners, and they came out this spring. There's about 100 employees from their Boston offices, and we were working in Herder Park in Brighton. And you can see just from all the lawn bags that are filled, they did a lot of hard work that day, getting the park cleaned up and looking great. And we had a lot of fun as well.
And Berkshire Partners also invited the Charles River Conservancy to come and present in their headquarters to talk about our underpasses effort, because many people at Berkshire's Partners are interested in bicycling, so we presented what our plans are there. So it's a wonderful partnership, both on the ground and in the boardroom.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now, another group.
Yeah, we work with Novartis. They've come out year after year. They love to work at Magazine Beach in Cambridge. This is some of the employees from this past spring. We are really getting the park ready for the summer months. Weeding, planting, painting, raking, you name it, we did it. And it was a great time. We also work with a few other pharmaceutical companies, including Genzyme. Genzyme has been a really strong supporter of ours. Across the river in Boston, and it's we'll have an event with them this September, and also Infinity Pharmaceuticals.
Great. So here is another group that you worked with.
Yeah, this is a group from Standard & Poor's, and we were working out in Watertown for this event, more specifically in Squib-Knocket Park along North Beacon Street. And this was a great full day of outside time. We were painting benches and clearing pathways. And then we ended the day with a wonderful lunch provided by the Swiss bakers. And we ate it in the park and got to enjoy looking at all of our hard work.
That's great, yeah. And I know that Jeff Belazikin, who's an advisory board member, and his foundation, they help us. And so we work in Watertown on several projects.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and as the Braille Trail is finished, there the Conservancy will also be maintaining that area several times a year.
Yes, there's a large patch of Oriental bittersweet, which volunteers will work to tackle to remove.
Yeah.
This is a group from Ernst & Young. I really love working with Ernst & Young. They've come out for the past few years, really energetic and wonderful. Here we are removing some invasive plants on Memorial Drive, right across the street from the hospital. And besides our corporate groups, we work with a lot of colleges and college alumni. These gentlemen here are Boston College alumni, and we're again working in Watertown. We are doing some weeding and raking, and it's a really great way for them to get outside, but also connect with each other. We also work with a lot of high schoolers. This is one of my favorite parts of the program, is getting to work with young adults. These young adults here are from high school in Cambridge, and we were out picking up trash for a couple hours, picking up litter, and they really worked hard. It was a great day.
And in every time you have an event, it is really an educational component where you, particularly also with school groups, where you give them a sense of the parklands, the history, and
Right.
that's a great opportunity for them to do hands-on thing and learn about the river.
Yeah, I love teaching people about the natural history of the Charles River, what it looked like hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And up until today, a lot of people don't know that the Charles River is the cleanest urban river in the United States. And I love bragging about that, and I love telling people.
Yes, and of course we have now community swims.
Absolutely.
And so if you want to sign up for a community swim, make sure you do it early, because this year we had a wait list. Over 400 people were able to swim.
Wow.
But it is a very popular thing.
Absolutely.
Also, we are able to do work with schools because we get grants like from the Cambridge Community Foundation and the Belasekian Foundation, others, which allows us to work with schools. So here is another happy group of people.
This is a middle school group. I believe there's a bunch of 7th graders. Oh boy, did they have fun. They got to use, all different types of tools to do some invasive species removal right around the end of the school year. So they enjoyed being outside, and their energy was definitely contagious. And here's another group from Boston, from City on a Hill. It was a gray day, but they got a lot done. It was a good day. And besides working with high schools and college groups, we also have once a month open volunteer days. This is when anyone in the community is welcome to come and join us and work on Saturday mornings. This photo here was from Watertown Helps Out.
And how can people find out about when and where volunteer days are?
Great question. They're listed on our website on the Conservancy Volunteers page, or you can sign up for our monthly e-newsletter, which has the next month's open volunteer day.
Great.
Yeah. And this here, I'd like to point out the gentleman in the hat. His name is Brian McCormick, and he is our all-star volunteer. He comes out to almost every single open volunteer day, and he's nice, and he's hardworking, and he really cares about the parklands. So thank you, Brian.
Now, this is the river. This is the green areas where the DCR, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, works. Maybe you want to talk about our partnership with them.
Absolutely. Our partnership with DCR is one of the most important relationships we have. They're wonderful, and we keep all our tools and supplies at the DCR maintenance yard. I work with a lot of wonderful DCR staff, including Steve Sears, Larry Callahan, and all the other people in the maintenance yard, Teddy, Eileen, Ozzy. They're a pleasure to work with, and they really help us make sure our program happens.
Great. Now, here comes a very important partner in the Conservancy Volunteer Program. We call it the Chuck.
Yeah, so the truck came with the name Chuck, but I definitely feel a more feminine vibe from the truck.
All right. So do you have another name that you want to...
I am still working on a name. It hasn't come to me yet. But yes, this is our beautiful new truck that
we were grateful to get from a foundation. That makes a huge difference to have a good truck.
Absolutely. We load up the back with all our tools and supplies, and at the end of the day, we can haul out our bags and all our collected materials and bring it back.
Now, give us a sense of what are the kind of tools do you use? We see some of them in the pictures, but give us an overview of what you use mostly.
Yeah, well, depending on the project, we used a lot of hand cutting tools, so small pruning shears, loppers, hand saws.
And you have those in different sizes, both for adults and for children?
Yeah, generally speaking, for smaller cuts, you'll use the hand shears. For anything larger than the width of your thumb, you want to use something more like a hand saw. Then the loppers are great for in between.
Yeah, yeah. So this shows the area where you work and the highlights.
Absolutely. So you can see we start in North Point Park, and on the Cambridge side of the river, we're going all the way up to the Watertown Square Dam. And that circle you see there is Magazine Beach, which is one of the largest open areas in the Charles River Reservation. Then on the Boston side of the river, we're working from the Watertown Square Dam all the way up to the BU Bridge. That other circle that you see is Christian Herter Park in Brighton, which is the largest open area in the reservation. And it's great.
Now, you have some examples of what your volunteers do. We saw some group pictures, but let's see them of actually doing the work, the hard work that needs to be done.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest undertakings that volunteers do is invasive plant removal. And we can see a young lady here with her loppers. It looks like she's tackling some oriental bittersweet. This is important for the biodiversity and also just for making sure that there's the beautiful views of the river, that they're not obstructed. You can see here, if left unchecked, that these invasive plants can really just take over. So it's important that we work to control the populations, and by cutting them, we can help keep things at bay.
And then eventually, once you have able to tame that, you will replace that area with native plants. That's the goal.
Yes, that is the goal. So again, working that strong partnership with DCR, they kind of let us know what areas to focus on, then hopefully we can do some replanting. Here's a group of volunteers. You can see this gentleman is dressed up. Volunteers love to have fun. We were working in North Point Park to remove some invasive artichoke plants, the sunchokes. And here's a volunteer group from just the other day, Robert Half. They were removing ailanthus trees and some bittersweet vine. And here we are clearing pathways, making sure that bicyclists, pedestrians, and runners have clear pathways, that they're not going to be obstructed by vegetation.
So to help with the pathway, I think is a very important role, so that the runners and the bicyclists are safe. You also prune the trees so they don't get, the bicyclists don't get hit by it.
Yeah.
Because we want people to have safe bicycling along the Charles, and that's why we're also working on the underpasses, so that it's a continuous band and a safe band, and that's, the volunteers play a key role in that.
Absolutely. Here we have some ladies painting park benches. So we do some painting of the park benches, repairing boards if they're missing. This really helps with the aesthetics of the parks.
And it preserves the wood.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It preserves the wood, it covers the graffiti, it just keeps things looking beautiful and nice.
Yeah. Now, the Conservancy, that was actually before you joined the Conservancy, has also done some larger construction projects.
Absolutely.
And we have an example here of an erosion near the Elliott Bridge. So that's a before picture, and then this is an after picture where we worked with the Northeastern Engineering Department, who did the calculation and built it, and then other volunteers worked on it, and that's how it looks now with the plantings. And you keep working on that area with volunteers.
Absolutely. I'm try to get out there at least once a month in the spring and summer seasons to weed it and make sure it's looking nice. That area has been drastically improved with the stairs, and it's wonderful. Just a real ease of access for everyone.
And it makes it it's safer for the runners,
Mm-hmm.
and also it prevents the banks eroding into the river. What happened is that the stones would just erode onto the path.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been cleared, and then you now go back and keep up those beds.
Yeah, this group here, they were some MIT alumni, and they actually helped me plant some cuttings of native eastern prickly pear that I had. So
Tell us about those.
yeah, so it's native to this area, and it's a prickly pear cactus. And a friend of mine who also does similar work gave me a cutting of some paddles, and we planted them in the ground. And the hope is that eventually over the years they'll start to spread, and it's a really wonderful ground cover that produces a beautiful cactus bloom in the spring. So hopefully that'll
Great.
take off and do really well in that area.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
you have a wonderful grasp of the plants, and you are the one who goes to Mahoney's and
Absolutely.
and buy plants, and so we're very grateful to Mahoney because they also give us bulbs. Have given us bulbs
Yes, definitely.
in the past for our bulb planting. I think we'll be coming to the bulb planting
Yes.
in a little while here.
Here we go. You can see that we work in all seasons. Sometimes people hear that we work in the winter and they say, oh, that's crazy. But we do a lot of good tree pruning in the winter. Again, just making sure that those pathways are clear and accessible. And honestly, once you're outside and you're in the snow, it's so much fun. This group here was from Harvard, and we just had a lot of fun, and towards the end we had a snowball fight, and I think people get a little cooped up from being inside all winter, so an afternoon outside in the snow is a lot of fun.
It's the cabin fever
Yes.
remedy.
Yes.
Now tell us, obviously in the winter maybe events might be a bit shorter, but what is normally the lengths and when do these events take place?
Sure. So we hold events any day during the week, but they're generally speaking 3 hours long. So either from 9 to 12 or from 1 to 4. In the summertime, a lot of times people like to have them in the morning just because it's generally cooler, but a lot of businesses or corporations like to have events from 1 to 4, so that way employees can just leave after the event and head home. They don't have to feel like they have to go back into the office after having worked outside all day.
And I think there's a correlation of how hard they work and how happy they are. That the harder they work, and sometimes they even work in the rain and feel this has been a great event.
Absolutely. Sometimes those are the most memorable events when you're outside in the elements or in the rain, but still having fun, still doing good work.
Yeah. Now, while we see a winter picture here, but here let's step back into the fall. Can you explain what's happening here?
Yeah, absolutely. Here we see some volunteers that dug trenches, and then they are planting daffodil bulbs.
And it's something that I think it's one of something that many corporations, they come back year after year to do more.
Yes, it's fun, it's a lot of work, but you get to see your results next spring, and there's just something so special about that first daffodil bloom you see every spring.
Yeah.
And knowing that you planted it, how awesome.
Yeah, and here they are.
Yes.
Along the Charles River, the first messengers of spring.
Absolutely.
Now, around this time of when these daffodils come out is a very important big event around Earth Day. So tell us of who else is involved in the Earth Day cleanup.
Sure. So every year we hold an annual Earth Day cleanup, and we work with the Charles River Watershed Association, the Esplanade Association, the Waltham Land Trust, who's a little bit farther out, and also Senator Brownsburger. We all get together and we plan a cleanup all along the Charles River with hundreds and hundreds of people coming out on a Saturday morning, and just really walking all the way along the banks of the river and picking up trash and debris that they find. And it's a really important event. After winter, lots of trash and debris has kind of collected, and this is the first cleanup to get everything ready for the spring and summer months.
Yeah, April 2015 was a particularly important cleanup date after the extraordinary winter. There was just so much embedded in the snow, and all that just stayed on the parklands.
Absolutely. It was, as everyone knows, a hard winter. We were even wondering if there's still going to be snow on the ground when we held the event. So we were really biting our nails there. But all the snow melted, and yes, there was just lots of debris. And it's, of course, around Earth Day, so it's kind of a celebration of the earth and a cleanup in preparation for the spring and the summer.
So we've seen pictures of Watertown, of Herder Park, of Magazine Beach, but you go all the way to North Point Park now, all the way to Charlestown in a way.
Yes, that's an exciting area. I feel that it's still relatively undiscovered by a lot of people, so it's always fun to bring groups there to show them this really interesting spot in Boston that is open to everyone, and to get them outside. And of course, it's close to our Lynch family skate park that's being built, so it's really exciting for people to get to see the site of where the skate park is going to be.
And there are also the two playgrounds for two different age groups, and there's a restaurant, Lingo Restaurant. So it's an area that is really is being discovered by many, and there's the new bridge that goes from North Point Park over to Charlestown. So this is an area that was a Cambridge a trash transfer station, and has been completely transformed by the $100 million from the Big Dig mitigation. And as you mentioned, the skate park will be a $5 million skate park that the Conservancy has been working on for 15 years. And that also reminds me, I actually had on this show a senior skate park designer, and you can find these shows, this one as well as the one about the skate park in North Point, on YouTube. I also interviewed Doug Muntz of HYM, who's a developer of the North Point development. So all these shows, if you just joined us, you can catch them on YouTube and learn about the various projects of the Conservancy, including the swimming. We had a lot of press at the swimming, at the swims, and about the underpasses. So let's look at some pictures of Earth Day.
Yes, we get lots of different groups from Earth Day, and a lot of returning groups as well. I believe this is a picture of the Professional Arab Network. They came out and did a wonderful job cleaning up. Lots of college groups, businesses, alumni associations, all different people who have connections to the river, just love this Earth Day event.
Yeah, and also groups that you often have freshmen from universities, and because that's a wonderful way to start your 4 years on the Charles to come out and work.
Right, so meeting new people, working together with an activity, and then just getting connected to this beautiful river and its parklands that are going to be your backyard for the next 4 years.
Yeah, give us a sense of the kind of little bit of the, what would you say, that the back room work. I know you sometimes go to your trailer to sharpen the tools and to get the gloves ready, because you have a lot of tools for large groups. You can take groups up to what size?
We've had a number of 100 people events this year, so 100 plus events, so lots and lots of tools, and of course tool maintenance is very important. You're only as productive as your tools are, so making sure they're cleaned and sharpened and oiled and ready for the next group. We also have lots of paintbrushes and tarps and soil and wheelbarrows, so my little trailer is just packed full of tools and equipment, but it's I love it.
And you also are the person who writes our e-newsletter, and as part of the e-newsletter you report about the Conservancy volunteers, but also tell us what you do after volunteer event. You take pictures, and then you and the companies often post it. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So promoting events and the work that our wonderful volunteers do on our social media page. I think people love seeing the work they do. And I love when I'm out working with a group and cyclists and walkers will stop and talk to us and thank us for the work they do, because it really lets volunteers know just how important their work is and that people really appreciate it. You know, for commuters and for people that use these paths daily, having a branch that was in their way being trimmed back, they really appreciate it, and it makes them feel special, and like sharing that with everyone.
Well, it's great. I think it's to be, you spend some time in the office, but you spend a lot of time out in the parklands. I know you often go out and explore areas where you want to work. So this is wonderful. You keep an eye on those parklands.
Absolutely. An important part of the job is riding my bike along the paths and looking for new projects and where invasives are starting to take over or where we need to weed. So it's constant upkeep.
All right. Well, we're coming up to the end of our program. I want to thank you, Sasha, for the great work. Thank you for coming today.
Yeah, great.
And I will be putting up the image of how to contact you if you want to volunteer. Sasha, she is the expert, and she is great. Thank you so much, Sasha.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and I hope to have you all out volunteering. Go to our website on the Conservancy Volunteers page to learn about the next open volunteer day that we have. We have one at the end of August and then one in September where everyone is welcome to come.
Wonderful. And we will soon be cut off, so copy down this information and come and see Sasha in the parklands. Thank you.
Excellent.